Friends, before we begin to uncover the mechanisms of banks' hidden influence on your life, I ask you to do one simple but important thing. Right now, subscribe to this channel and like this video. It will only take a second, but your activity is what helps promote such content and open the eyes of more people. Thank you for supporting us. And now, let's talk about what you're used to calling your choice. Every morning, you wake up with absolute certainty that you fully control your money. You decide which card to pay with at the store, when to take out a loan for a new phone, or in which bank to open a deposit. It seems to you that these decisions are dictated solely by your logic, your needs, and your free will. But what if I tell you that this freedom is just an expensive and high-quality prop? What if most of your financial decisions were made for you even before that thought ever arose in your head? The modern banking system is no longer about safes with gold and boring clerks in gray suits. These are gigantic IT corporations, armed not only with big data, but also with a staff of behavioral psychologists and neuroscientists. They create what experts call choice architecture. This is an invisible environment that gently but persistently nudges you in the desired direction, while maintaining your complete illusion of independence. When you see an offer for increased cashback, it seems to you that the bank is giving you money. In reality, it simply switches your brain into consumption mode, making you spend 20% more for an illusory benefit. When you are offered a credit card with free maintenance and a grace period, you think about the possibilities, while the bank thinks about statistics that say sooner or later you will slip up and start paying interest. In this introduction, we must accept one uncomfortable fact. In the financial world, we are far less rational than we like to think. Banks know your weaknesses, your fears, and your desires better than you do yourself. They know how the color of a button in an app influences your desire to press it, and how the wording of a push notification can make you make an impulsive purchase. We are beginning a great journey through the labyrinths of banking manipulations. Ahead, a detailed analysis awaits us of precisely how your financial independence is replaced by a convenient behavioral algorithm for the system. The illusion of financial choice freedom is the foundation upon which billions in profits are built, and today we will begin to dismantle this foundation, brick by brick, so that you can finally see who truly controls your wallet. Let's start with a fundamental flaw in our brain, upon which banks build their empires. In behavioral economics, there is a term called pain of payment. This is not a metaphor. When you physically take banknotes out of your wallet, count them, and hand them to the cashier, your brain activates the insula. This is the same area that lights up when you feel physical pain or disgust. You literally experience microscopic suffering from the loss of resources. This is an ancient evolutionary mechanism that for millennia taught us to conserve food and tool supplies to survive. But a plastic card, and especially payment by smartphone or smile, hacks this biological defense. A card is an abstraction. When you tap it against the terminal, you don't physically give anything away. The card returns to your hand. The phone remains in your pocket. The ritual of loss is absent. The moment of parting with money becomes intangible, meaning the insula remains silent, sending no alarm signals. This concept is called decoupling. Banks deliberately increase the temporal and sensory gap between the moment of experiencing pleasure from a purchase and the moment of realizing the loss of money.
Famous studies conducted at MIT showed that people are willing to pay, on average, twice as much for the same item if they pay with a credit card rather than cash. For your subconscious, the numbers on a banking app screen are just pixels, cold information, not a real resource necessary for life. This turns spending into a kind of video game with virtual points, where consequences occur with a delay. This is why financial corporations so aggressively implement contactless payments, auto-replenishments, and one-click subscriptions. Their goal is to remove friction. They need to eliminate that very second of hesitation when you count banknotes and ask yourself if you really need it. Banks create an environment of perfect glide, where money flows away unnoticed, and you don't feel the pain until you see an empty balance at the end of the month. This is presented as technological convenience and speed, but in reality, it is a digital anesthetic for your financial vigilance. Let's delve into what's happening on your screen right now. You open your banking app and think you're in complete control of your actions. But the truth is, your behavior was designed long before you unlocked your phone. This concept in behavioral economics is called choice architecture. In the context of banking apps, this means the interface is designed in such a way that one specific decision seems the most natural, simple, and logical to you. And almost always, this decision benefits the bank, not you. Let's start with the most powerful tool, called default options. People are inertial beings, and our brains always seek the path of least resistance. Banks know this best of all. When you apply for any product, whether it's a transfer or a card application, the checkbox for paid insurance or notification subscriptions is already checked. To refuse the service, you need to take an active step. Notice the checkbox, read the fine print, understand the consequences, and click on it to uncheck it. Statistics are inexorable. The vast majority of users will simply skip this step, leaving the settings as the designer made them. This is millions of rubles in pure profit, earned simply because you didn't want to make an extra finger movement. Now look at the visual hierarchy. Designers literally control your gaze using color, size, and contrast. The button the bank wants you to press, for example to activate a credit card, is always a so-called primary action button. It's large, filled with a bright, vibrant brand color, and often pulsates or has a shadow that creates a sense of volume. Moreover, it is located in the so-called green zone of the screen, where your thumb naturally rests when you hold your smartphone with one hand. But where is the rejection button? Where is the button that allows you to skip a beneficial bank offer? This is what designers call a ghost button. Often it's just text without a border, written in pale gray on a white background, blending with the rest of the content. Or it's a tiny X in the most inconvenient top corner of the screen, physically difficult to reach without gripping the phone with your second hand. Your finger unconsciously chooses the bright button, simply because it's more ergonomically comfortable and pleasant to press. Another level of this architecture is friction management. In interface design, friction refers to any obstacles in the user's path. Banks skillfully remove friction where you spend money and deliberately add it where you try to save money or leave. You can transfer money or make an impulsive purchase on credit in a fraction of a second just by looking at the camera for Face ID. The path is absolutely smooth. But try to find the button in the app for completely closing an account or disabling auto payments. Suddenly you will encounter artificial friction.
You'll have to navigate through 5 nested menus with non-obvious names, confirm the action with an SMS code, read 3 warnings about danger, and sometimes the app will even tell you that for this action, you need to write to a chatbot, which will lead you in circles. This is not bad design or technical shortcomings. This is choice architecture in action. A banking app is not a neutral tool or a blank sheet of paper. It's a labyrinth where the walls are arranged so that as you wander, you inevitably reach an exit where a cash register stands. You think you're choosing your own path, but in reality, you're just following the only convenient corridor built for you. And now let's uncover the most elegant trap, which bankers call a product, and I call a credit needle. This is the mechanics of grace periods and minimum payments. Most people perceive a credit card as a safety net or a wallet with someone else's money that can be used for free for 100 days or even a year. But if it weren't profitable for the bank, this service simply wouldn't exist. Here, a fundamental flaw in our brain comes into play, called the gap between the pleasure of a purchase and the pain of payment. When you pay with cash or a debit card, you feel the loss of money instantly. It's a physiological process. The same areas of the brain that are activated during physical pain are activated. The grace period acts like an anesthetic. It pushes the moment of reckoning into a foggy future, which your brain perceives abstractly. You receive the item today, and you postpone the pain of parting with money until later. Banks know that during these 100 days of the grace period, your vigilance will fall asleep. Statistics are relentless. People with credit cards spend on average 15 or 20% more than those who use cash, simply because the psychological barrier of price is blurred by the feeling that payment isn't due now. But the real trap snaps shut when the grace period ends and you receive a statement with that very minimum payment. Usually, it's a ridiculous amount, 3 or 5% of the debt. And here, a cognitive bias known as the anchoring effect comes into play. The bank visually highlights this small amount, making it psychologically comfortable. Your brain sees a huge debt and a tiny payment, and of course chooses the path of least resistance. It seems to you that you are in control of the situation because you made the payment, the bank is satisfied, and there are no overdue payments. However, the math of minimum payments is predatory. In the first months and even years of repayment, the lion's share of this amount goes exclusively to cover interest, while the principal debt itself decreases by pennies. This creates an illusion of movement, though in reality you are standing still. By using only minimum payments, you can repay a debt for a new phone or vacation for years, ultimately overpaying the bank 2 or 3 times the cost of the item.
It's not profitable for the bank for you to pay off the debt quickly. The ideal client for a bank is not one who repaid everything on time, but one who is perpetually hooked on minimum payments, diligently servicing the interest. This turns a one-time purchase into an endless subscription to poverty, where you rent money from the bank at the highest market rate, while sincerely believing that the bank accommodated you by allowing you to pay so little. Have you ever wondered why a bank is willing to pay you for spending your own money? At first glance, cashback and bonus points seem like an act of unprecedented generosity, or just a nice addition to the service. It seems like you're beating the system, getting some of what you spent back. But let's be honest, banks are not charitable organizations, and if they're giving you money, it means they plan to earn much more from it.
Here, one of the most powerful tools of behavioral psychology comes into play: operant conditioning. This is the same mechanism B.F. Skinner used in his experiments with pigeons and rats. The essence is simple. A desired action is followed by a reward. When you swipe your card and see a notification about points being credited, your brain receives a microdose of dopamine. This instant reward reinforces the behavior. You start to enjoy the spending process itself because it's associated with receiving a prize. Banks have turned our expenses into a video game, and this is called gamification of spending. Notice how modern banking apps are designed. They offer you to choose your favorite categories for the month, increase your loyalty level, complete tasks, or collect achievements. This creates an illusion of control. It seems to you that you are choosing the restaurants category to save money. But in reality, by choosing this category, you subconsciously commit yourself to going to restaurants more often to maximize the benefit. You start to adjust your lifestyle to the bank's terms. You go not to the store that's more convenient, but to the one that's a bank partner. You buy things you don't particularly need just to reach the next level of privileges or get an increased percentage. This is classic conditioning. The bank dangles a carrot in front of you in the form of 1 or 5% cashback, and you obediently move in the desired direction. Moreover, points and miles are a surrogate currency. Psychologically, it's much easier for us to part with real money if we know that in return we'll get these virtual tokens. This reduces the so-called pain of payment. We stop perceiving spending as a loss of resources and start seeing it as an investment in a future bonus. But the math here is cruel. To get significant cashback, you need to spend amounts that often exceed your budget. And most importantly, these bonuses are not funded out of thin air. They are embedded in the acquiring fees paid by sellers, and ultimately in the prices of goods. That is, globally, you yourself pay for your cashback, but at the same time, you allow the bank to dictate where, when, and how much you spend. This is the perfect trap. You feel like a winner, getting pennies, while the bank controls your financial habits and collects invaluable data about your behavior for further manipulation. You've probably noticed how, over the past couple of years, your banking app has transformed from a boring utility for transfers into a colorful marketplace. Now you can order pizza, call a taxi, buy movie tickets, book a hotel, and even get insurance for your dog there. Banks spend billions buying up online cinemas, delivery services, and car-sharing services to build so-called ecosystems. But let's be honest, banks don't do this because they desperately want to entertain you in the evenings or feed you dinner. It's all about data. In the new digital reality, card transactions tell too little about you. Well, you spend $5,000 at the supermarket. The bank only sees the amount and the store category. It doesn't know if you bought premium alcohol and steaks or stocked up with buckwheat and canned goods for a month. But when you order groceries through the bank's internal service, it sees every item on your receipt. This allows them to create a frighteningly accurate psychological profile and assess your real solvency much better than an income statement. If you regularly take comfort class taxis to a business center, the bank understands you have a stable job and a habit of a certain standard of living. If you order fast food at 3 in the morning, this signals your lifestyle and possibly impulsivity. These small details, collected together, feed the scoring algorithms. The bank no longer asks how much you earn. It already knows this by analyzing the quality of your shopping basket and the frequency of your cinema visits.
The second reason for creating ecosystems is to capture your attention and keep you in the so-called golden corral. This is a strategy aimed at making switching banks as painful and inconvenient as possible for you. By signing up for a single subscription that gives you a taxi discount, free music, and increased cash back, you become psychologically tied to that provider. Even if another bank offers a loan rate 1% lower, you will most likely not leave, because you would regret losing the accumulated bonuses and the familiar comfort of the ecosystem. Moreover, by controlling the storefront, the bank begins to manage your choices. In the app, you won't be shown all available options for goods or services, but only those that are beneficial to the bank or its partners. It seems to you that you are choosing a movie for the evening yourself, but in reality, this choice has already been filtered by an algorithm whose goal is to keep you within the app for as long as possible. The ecosystem creates an illusion of convenience, but the price of this convenience is complete transparency of your personal life to the financial corporation and the loss of the ability to choose alternatives in the free market. The bank ceases to be just a place where your money is kept. It becomes the operating system of your life, and it becomes increasingly difficult to disconnect from it. We move on to the most cynical and visual part of banking manipulations. This is called dark patterns in interface design. It's important to understand that when you can't find the unsubscribe button for insurance or accidentally subscribe to paid notifications, it's not a designer's mistake or bad usability. This is a carefully planned choice architecture whose goal is to make you perform an action that benefits the bank, not you. The king of these manipulations is the so-called default effect or pre-selection. Remember what the loan or installment application screen looks like in the app? The checkbox next to Agree to Life and Health Insurance is already checked. Psychologically, it's incredibly difficult for us to undo something that has already been chosen for us. Our brain, striving to save energy, perceives the pre-checked box as an expert recommendation or as a mandatory part of the procedure. To uncheck it, you need to make a cognitive effort. Stop, analyze, find the fine print, and click. Banks know that in a state of stress or rush, 90% of users will simply press the large, bright Next button. Here, a second technique comes into play, managing attention through visual hierarchy. Look closely at the buttons. The button that leads to purchasing a product with all additional paid services is always bright, contrasting, large, and located in the most convenient area for thumb pressing. However, the button for refusal or for purchasing without insurance often mimics an inactive element. It might be gray, transparent, or simply look like a text link somewhere in the corner of the screen. Designers exploit your previous experience. You're accustomed to gray in an interface, meaning a function is unavailable, so you subconsciously ignore such a button, believing you have no choice. An even more sophisticated method is the manipulation of phrasing, or so-called confirm shaming. The bank doesn't just ask if you need insurance, it phrases the question in such a way that refusal evokes a feeling of anxiety or guilt in you. Instead of a no thank you button, you see text like, I want to take on all risks, or decline financial protection. The wording sounds threatening. It seems to you that by clicking it, you are making a mistake, though in reality, you are simply refusing to overpay 30% for nothing. And finally, a classic pattern known as the rat maze or roach motel. Its essence is simple. Entry is easy, exit is practically impossible.
You can activate a paid subscription, auto payment, or SMS notification with one click, often without even entering a password, just by pressing OK in a pop-up window. But try to deactivate it. You'll have to delve into the depths of settings, scroll through 5 screens with please to stay, find a microscopic link in the footer of the site, and sometimes even call the call center or go to a branch with your passport. The bank's calculation is simple. The cost of your effort to cancel the service is higher than its monthly fee. You think, okay, let them debit these 100 rubles. I'm too lazy to deal with it now. It is on this laziness, provoked by the interface, that banks earn billions. We move to the 8th point, which explains why we often agree to pay for card maintenance and bundled services, even if we initially plan to find a free option. This is the anchoring effect, or as it's also called in psychology, the priming effect. This mechanism works flawlessly because our brain cannot evaluate the cost of banking products in a vacuum. We don't objectively know the actual cost of account maintenance, payment processing, or card issuance. To understand if something is expensive or cheap, we absolutely need to compare it with something. And banks kindly provide us with this object for comparison, but they do so with professional cunning. When you open a page with a range of tariffs, the most expensive, premium package often catches your eye first. Let's say it costs 3,000 rubles a month. It includes access to airport business lounges, extended insurance, and some personal concierge. You look at this and think that 3,000 a month is insane, and you simply don't need such excesses. And then your gaze slides to the next tariff. Let's call it optimal. It costs only 490 rubles a month. Against the backdrop of 3,000, this amount seems simply ridiculous, insignificant, practically a gift. Simple arithmetic kicks in. 500 rubles is 6 times less than 3,000. You feel relief and even joy that you found such a good deal. But here's the catch. If you hadn't first seen the $3,000 price, those 500 rubles might have seemed like an unjustified expense because there are completely free cards on the market. The high price serves as that anchor. It artificially raises the bar of normalcy.
The bank intentionally creates and maintains a product in its lineup that few people will buy, solely so that against its background, the main target tariff, which brings the bank mass profits, looks like a gift from fate. At this moment, you think you saved 2,500 rubles by rejecting the premium, but in reality, you agreed to give the bank 500 rubles, which it had counted on from the very beginning. Your decision seems well considered and rational to you, but the context of this decision was entirely orchestrated by marketers who knew in advance what figure you would consider fair. You probably think that when approving a loan, a bank only looks at your official salary and past delinquencies. This is a hopelessly outdated notion. Today's scoring is a digital biopsy of your personality, and it's performed without anesthesia. Banking algorithms analyze thousands of non-obvious parameters, creating a psychological profile of you that can rival the conclusions of a professional psychotherapist in accuracy. Your transactions tell the story of your life more truthfully than you'd like. Do you buy coffee every morning at the same coffee shop? You are predictable and stable, an ideal borrower. Started spending money in online stores after midnight? The algorithm records a tendency towards impulsivity, or perhaps insomnia due to stress. Have your bar expenses sharply increased on Fridays? Or conversely, have pharmacy transactions appeared? The system recalculates your risk factor in fractions of a second. But it's not just about purchases.
Modern machine learning models even take into account your device's metadata. There is a real correlation between creditworthiness and your phone's battery level at the time of application. Big data statistics have revealed a frightening pattern. People who let their smartphones discharge almost to zero are statistically more likely to default on payments. For the bank, this is a marker of low self-discipline and an inability to plan for the future. They know your phone model, how quickly you type text, and even how long you read the terms of the agreement before clicking agree. If you scrolled through the document in a second, you are an ideal candidate for an impulsive, high-interest loan because you don't delve into details. Moreover, big data allows predicting events in your life. Analysis of social connections, likes, and geolocation can tell the bank that you are about to divorce, quit your job, or prepare to move, even before you make a final decision yourself or tell your friends about it. Changing taxi routes, new spending categories, a change in your social circle, all of these are signals. And precisely at the moment when the algorithm calculates that you are entering a zone of turbulence or emotional instability, a notification arrives on your phone with a personalized offer that is difficult to refuse. This is not bank intuition or a happy coincidence. This is the mathematical exploitation of your habits and weaknesses, digitized and transformed into profit. We move on to the 10th and perhaps most technologically advanced level of manipulation, which definitively blurs the lines between desire and its fulfillment. We will be talking about biometrics, Face ID, and Touch ID. Previously, to spend money, one had to perform an entire ritual. Take out a wallet, count the banknotes, hand them to the cashier, and receive change. At this moment, your brain physically registered the loss of resources. This is called the pain of payment, a psychological phenomenon that serves as a natural brake on overspending. With the advent of plastic cards, this pain dulled, but the PIN code still remained a small barrier, a second for reflection. Today, banks and tech giants have implemented biometrics under the banner of security and convenience. But let's look at what's really happening from a neurobiological perspective. When you pay for a purchase with a glance at the camera or a touch of your finger, the process of parting with money literally becomes part of your body. You are no longer giving away something external, you are simply confirming your identity. This is a brilliant substitution of concepts. The brain perceives Face ID not as a transaction confirmation, but as unlocking access. For your subconscious, this action is associated with receiving something pleasant, access to content, messages, applications. Banks have integrated the payment mechanism into this dopamine cycle. Now, buying coffee or a subscription doesn't require a conscious decision to part with money. It only requires your presence. Biometrics destroy the last second of doubt. Entering a password engages the brain's logical centers, making you recall a combination of numbers, which momentarily activates critical thinking. Face scanning happens faster than you can realize the price. It's instant gratification without the phase of considering consequences. The system is configured so that there is not the slightest friction between the impulse "I want" and the paid status. Your face becomes your wallet, and since you can't leave your face at home, you are always in a state of complete readiness to spend. The barrier is completely removed. Now you don't make a purchase, you just look at the screen, and the money disappears, making the process of consumption as natural and imperceptible as breathing. We move on to arguably the most elegant trap of modern banking, where your ambitions become their fuel.
10 to 15 years ago, the stock market was a closed club for people in formal suits. But today, the bank has put the exchange in your right pocket and, most importantly, turned it into a casino with video game elements. Have you ever wondered why investment apps look the way they do? Bright green numbers for gains, alarming red for losses, confetti on the screen when a deal is made, badges for achievements, and beautiful graphs that you can zoom with your fingers. This isn't just interface design, it's a dopamine needle. Banks know perfectly well that investing is inherently a boring and lengthy process, but you don't earn much from boredom. It's not profitable for them if you buy a reliable index fund and forget about it for 20 years. They need your activity. They need your greed and constant desire to recoup losses or hit the jackpot. Here, a mechanism that professionals call churning or account churning comes into play. The bank bombards you with ideas and news. Tesla is up 5%. Bitcoin broke through the ceiling. Gold is falling. Hurry and buy. These notifications are designed to trigger your fear of missing out, the so-called FOMO. They push you towards impulsive actions. Buy, sell, buy again. Why? Because every action you take is a commission. Even if the bank proudly declares commission-free transaction fees, don't be fooled. You pay a spread, that is, the difference between the buy and sell price. You pay for withdrawals, for margin lending, or for monthly account maintenance. The more frequently you trade, the poorer you become, and the richer the bank becomes. But the most cynical part of this scheme is ready-made investment products and discretionary management. You are offered beautiful boxed solutions, structured notes, auto-following strategies, or funds with grand names like Future Technologies. The bank sells you the illusion of expertise, promising returns higher than a deposit with minimal risks. In reality, these products embed gigantic hidden management fees, which are charged regardless of the outcome. If the market falls, you lose money. If the market rises, the bank takes the lion's share of the profit for itself in the form of a success fee. In this scheme, the bank acts as the shovel seller during a gold rush. They absolutely don't care if you find gold or not, because you've already bought the shovel, map, and pickaxe at triple the price. They profit from your belief that you can beat the market, although statistics are relentless. In the short term, most private investors lose money, transferring it into the pockets of institutional players, which are the very banks that so thoughtfully provided you with this convenient app. Your phone vibrates in your pocket. You take it out and see a notification. You've been pre-approved for a loan at a reduced rate, but the offer expires in 24 hours. At this moment, an ancient mechanism in your brain is activated, which bank marketers exploit with surgical precision. We move on to one of the most aggressive tactics of influence, creating artificial urgency and exploiting the fear of missing out, known as FOMO. Banks know perfectly well that time is the main enemy of impulsive decisions. If you are given a week to think, you will take a calculator, calculate the overpayment, assess the risks, and most likely decline. But when a metaphorical timer ticks on the screen, the rational part of the brain, the neocortex, is suppressed, and control shifts to the limbic system, responsible for emotions and instincts. You feel fear of not making it in time, fear of missing a unique opportunity that in reality does not exist. After all, the bank won't run out of money tomorrow, and rates are unlikely to change drastically overnight. But the phrasing "only for you and only today" makes you click the apply button faster than you can critically assess the situation.
By the way, right now you have the opportunity not to miss something truly important for your wallet. Unlike banking tricks, subscribing to this channel and liking this video is a real investment that pays off in knowledge and protection of your money. Do it right now so that algorithms don't hide the next parts of our investigation from you. And let's continue to analyze the mechanics of manipulation. It's important to understand that modern push notifications are not just informing, they are a form of digital conditioning. The bank trains you to react to an auditory signal with immediate action using the principle of scarcity. You are offered supposedly exclusive cashback for one category or a limited card design that is about to expire. Psychologically, the loss of an opportunity is perceived by us as twice as painful as the joy of a similar acquisition. This fundamental cognitive bias is called loss aversion. Bank copywriters phrase messages in such a way that you feel as if you already have these privileges or this money in your account, and if you don't click on the notification, they will literally be taken away from you. This creates micro-stress, which is only relieved by a target action, purchasing an unnecessary product. Thus, your smartphone transforms from a communication device into a personal terminal for managing your behavior, where every vibration is an attempt to hack your defenses through the fear of being left behind. Do you think banks are only after your wallet? You're mistaken. Their main strategic goal right now is your children. In marketing, there's a fundamental concept called lifetime value or client lifetime value, and the logic here is ironclad. The earlier a person enters a bank's ecosystem, the greater profit they will bring throughout their life. This is why the segment of children's bank cards is currently experiencing a real boom, which is presented to us as a benefit but conceals a cold calculation. Look at the packaging.
bright plastic design with popular cartoon characters, sticker sets, mobile apps that look more like colorful video games than serious financial tools. This is not accidental and not just about design care. This is aggressive gamification of consumption. The bank intentionally blurs the line between entertainment and spending money. A child does not feel the so-called pain of payment that we discussed earlier. For them, a financial transaction becomes another quest, where a purchase is a reward and debiting funds is simply a change of numbers on a smartphone screen, having no physical weight. To parents, this product is sold under the perfect guise of financial literacy and safety. Marketers convince you that the card will allow you to control your child's expenses, see if they bought unhealthy food or saved up for a toy. Sounds noble and responsible, but let's look deeper. In reality, the bank teaches a child not so much to manage capital as to be part of the cashless system. The main lesson a young user learns from infancy is this: money should be invisible and transactions instant and painless. The bank doesn't care at all about the small amounts of pocket money currently circulating in a schoolchild's account. For them, it's an investment in a future loyal population. Statistics are relentless. People are extremely reluctant to change their first bank, to which they have become accustomed. Psychological attachment and neural connections are formed precisely in childhood. If your child is accustomed to the interface of a specific yellow, red, or green app at 10 years old, then at 25, with a probability close to 90%, they will open a salary project, take a loan, and arrange a mortgage with that exact bank. This is fostering loyalty at the level of unconditional reflexes. This is how the ideal consumer of the future is cultivated.
This is a person who has never held a stack of banknotes, cannot physically feel the finiteness of resources, and completely trusts banking algorithms. A children's card is not just a convenient tool for transferring money for lunches. It's an entry ticket into a system where spending money is as easy and natural as breathing. And this state of automatism is precisely what banks strive for from us from the earliest years. We move on to one of the most sophisticated tools that has literally reprogrammed our brains over the past couple of years. This is installment plans and BNPL systems, which stands for Buy Now, Pay Later. You've probably seen these buttons: pay in installments, split, or in parts. It seems like it's just a convenient service, a manifestation of the bank's care for your wallet. But in reality, it's a psychological trap of price fragmentation, and it works at the neurobiological level. When we see the full cost of an expensive item, for example, a new smartphone for 100,000 rubles, the insula, the area responsible for the feeling of pain, is activated in our brain. Yes, the brain perceives parting with a large sum of money almost as physical pain. This is a natural barrier that evolution created so that we wouldn't squander resources. Banks and retailers have found a way to turn off this pain receptor. They fragment the price. Instead of a frightening 100,000, you see only 25,000, or even more effectively, 2,000 rubles a month. Visually and psychologically, the price ceases to be a threat. The figure becomes comfortable, safe. It easily fits into your perception of how much you don't mind spending right now. The trap lies in shifting the focus. Banks make you evaluate not the real cost of an item, but the affordability of the monthly payment. You stop asking yourself, is this phone worth this much money? Instead, you ask, can I spare a couple of thousand for my salary? The answer is almost always yes. This radically changes your consumer behavior. Studies show that with the option of installment payments, the average check increases by 40 to 50%. You don't just buy what you planned, you buy a more expensive version of the product or add accessories to your order because the difference in the monthly payment seems minuscule. The most insidious thing here is the illusion of no debt. BNPL services are positioned not as a loan, but simply as a different payment method. No long forms, no waiting for approval, everything happens in one click. This reduces friction at the moment of purchase to zero. But in fact, you accumulate many microloans. This leads to the so-called life subscription effect. You might not have any large loans, but your entire salary is already allocated for 10 small payments, for sneakers, for courses, for headphones, for that very toaster. You lose financial flexibility. Banks know perfectly well that price fragmentation is the best way to make you consume resources you haven't even earned yet, all while maintaining full confidence that you are behaving financially savvy and not overpaying interest. But remember, even if there's formally no overpayment, you still lost because you bought something that, in your right mind and at full price, your brain would have forbidden you to buy. Have you ever noticed the bestseller or most chosen badge next to a credit card or investment fund? This isn't just statistics or a friendly recommendation. It's one of the most powerful neuromarketing tools called social proof. Banks know perfectly well that in situations of uncertainty, when you're doubting whether to take out a loan or where to invest money, your ancient brain seeks safety.
And safety for our subconscious is found where the pack is. Bank algorithms analyze millions of transactions and segment clients into narrow groups.
When the app tells you, people with your income level usually open this deposit, or customers like you choose this insurance, it hits the most vulnerable point of your ego and fear of making a mistake. It seems to you that you are receiving helpful advice based on collective wisdom, but in reality, it's manipulation through the category of normality. It's profitable for the bank to average customer behavior, pushing them towards standard, often high-margin products that are easiest to sell. In investment apps, this works even more harshly. You are shown the top purchases of other investors, creating artificial excitement and fear of missing out. You buy stocks not because you analyzed the company's financial statements, but because you see a green chart and the text, 80% of users are buying. This removes the psychological responsibility for the decision from you, because if everyone makes a mistake, it's not as scary or shameful to make one. This is how the mechanism of conformity works. The bank transforms your personal financial decisions into a social act, where refusing a popular imposed product is subconsciously perceived as a risk of becoming an outcast or missing out on a benefit that others are already receiving. You think you're following a trend, but in reality, you're just walking down a narrow corridor that algorithms have built to make you a predictable and profitable element of the system. You think you're entering a bank branch just to get advice or apply for a card, but in reality, you're stepping into a meticulously designed neuromarketing laboratory where every inch of space works to make you part with your money. Bank offices are not just walls and computers. They are a stage where a performance for your senses is played out. Let's break down this mechanism, starting with something you don't even realize: scents. Large financial organizations spend millions on aroma marketing. Have you noticed that modern branches never smell of old paper, dust, or cheap bleach after cleaning? In common areas, synthesized, barely perceptible scents of citrus or green tea are often diffused. Studies show that these smells not only invigorate, but also create an illusion of cleanliness, transparency, and business honesty. Your brain interprets this signal as safety. However, if you are invited to a VIP client service area or a private meeting room to discuss a mortgage, the olfactory picture will change. There, notes of leather, sandalwood, cedar, or expensive tobacco will predominate. These aromas are subconsciously associated with stability, ancient traditions, and wealth. Breathing such air, you feel part of an elite club, and the amount in the contract no longer seems so intimidating, as the atmosphere itself tells you that you can afford it. The second tool of influence is sound. Silence in a bank only occurs when it benefits the bank, but more often than not, you are accompanied by a specially selected audio background. This isn't random radio, but playlists compiled by psychoacoustics experts. In areas where a flow of people needs to move quickly through tellers, the music might be slightly more dynamic, urging you not to linger. But where loans and insurance are sold, the music tempo is deliberately slowed to 60 beats per minute. This is the rhythm of a calm human heart. Such music lowers blood pressure and calms the pulse, suppressing anxiety before taking on financial obligations. You relax, your vigilance dulls, and critical thinking gives way to comfort. And finally, lighting, which acts as an invisible director of your attention. Banks almost never use uniform office lighting. Light temperature is zoned. At ATMs and in self-service areas, the light is cold and bright, around 4,000 Kelvin and higher, to keep you alert and minimize errors when entering a PIN. But as soon as you sit in a soft chair in front of a manager, you enter a cloud of warm, golden light, mimicking home comfort.
This light softens angles and makes the employee's face more pleasant and trustworthy. Moreover, accent lighting is used. The brightest spots of light are always directed at advertising stands with brochures for new products. Your gaze reflexively gravitates towards the most illuminated object, and without even realizing it, you start studying a credit card offer that you might not need at all. All this sensory attack is aimed at one thing: to switch you from a mode of logical analysis to a mode of emotional trust, where saying yes is much easier. Let's delve into the very structure of the language used by financial organizations. This isn't just a dry, bureaucratic style. It's a meticulously constructed labyrinth where every word has a double meaning, and punctuation marks can cost you thousands of rubles. The most common and expensive example for the client is the innocent preposition up to. You see a bright banner, cashback up to 30%, or deposit rate, up to 20%. Your brain, evolutionarily wired to seek the best opportunity, ignores the preposition and focuses on the attractive numbers. You are already mentally spending those 30%. But in reality, the preposition up to functions as a legal shield of absolute protection. If the bank credits you only 0.1%, it hasn't lied. Technically, it falls within the up to 30 range. Reality is changed, not by facts, but by phrasing. The next level of this linguistic game is the redefinition of familiar concepts. Take the word free. In the ordinary world, it means gratis. In the banking dictionary, free almost always means conditionally free. You are told card maintenance 0 rubles, but somewhere deep in the contract, in a footnote under an asterisk, in tiny and pale font, the condition is stated, only with expenses of 50,000 per month or more, or maintaining a non-decreasing balance. If you don't meet the condition, reality instantly changes, and free becomes retroactively paid. But the most powerful weapon is the deliberate complexity of the text, the so-called cognitive noise. Have you ever tried to read the full terms of credit card insurance? These are walls of text without paragraphs, written in heavy bureaucratic language, using passive voice, participial phrases, and double negatives. This is not because lawyers don't know how to write simply. This is done specifically to cause you cognitive overload. When the brain sees such text, it experiences pain and fatigue. A defense mechanism kicks in. Your brain tells you that this is probably standard formality, nothing important. Just sign and spare yourself the agony of reading. Banks exploit your laziness and fatigue. It is in these unreadable paragraphs that clauses are hidden about the bank's right to unilaterally change tariffs, about the transfer of your data to third parties, and about the grace period being canceled when withdrawing cash. Special attention should be paid to the wording of consent. Bankers are masters of passive aggression in documents. Instead of a direct question, "Do you want to buy insurance?" which is easy to answer no to, they use phrases like, "I confirm that I have read the terms of collective insurance and have no objections to joining the program." Often, the checkbox next to this item is already selected by default. To refuse, you need to take an active step. Find this checkbox and uncheck it, and sometimes even write a separate statement. Language here is used not for communication, but to conceal the essence of the transaction. You are sold debt disguised as an opportunity, and paid services disguised as protection, changing your financial reality with just a couple of phrases printed in the smallest font at the very bottom of the page.
Have you ever wondered why banking apps so persistently demand your biometrics, access to geolocation, and even to the microphone, invariably hiding behind concern for your safety? We have come to one of the most sophisticated tools of manipulation, which experts call the theater of security. This is a meticulously orchestrated production where complex login protocols and endless identity verifications serve not only as a barrier for fraudsters, but also as a smokescreen for the mass collection of your most intimate data. Psychology works flawlessly here. When you see a green shield icon, a lock, or a notification that your connection is encrypted, your anxiety level decreases, and with it, critical thinking is disabled. In this state of artificially created trust, you are much more willing to consent to the processing of personal data without even reading the fine print. You think the bank is building a fortress around your money, but in reality, it is building a transparent cage around you. Let's look at the example of biometrics. Banks present face and voice scanning as the pinnacle of convenience and protection. But consider the price of this exchange. A password can be changed if stolen. A PIN can be reissued, but you cannot change your face, fingerprints, or voice timbre. By submitting this data to a unified biometric system, you give the bank something that biologically belongs to you forever. And this information is used not only for logging into the app. Artificial intelligence systems analyze the micro-movements of your eyes and the intonations of your voice during calls to customer support to determine your emotional state. Are you scared? Are you in a hurry? Are you desperate? For the algorithm, this is a signal as to exactly which credit product to offer you at that second when your psychological defenses are weakened. Moreover, anti-fraud systems which supposedly monitor suspicious transactions are actually engaged in total behavioral profiling. They record not only what you buy, but also where you are physically, how fast you type messages, how quickly you make purchasing decisions, and even the angle at which you usually hold your smartphone. If you deviate from your usual pattern, the bank blocks the operation, creating an illusion of care. But the true purpose of this monitoring is to know more about your habits than you know yourself.
This allows them to predict your life changes, from divorce to job changes, even before they officially happen, and to prepare a contextual offer for you in advance that will be impossible to refuse. Security, in this case, is simply a convenient pretext for establishing total surveillance to which we voluntarily agree, exchanging our privacy for a feeling of false security. We have reached the most technological and perhaps most frightening part of the banking machine. If a banker used to be a person who assessed you by your appearance and income statement, today you are being monitored by cold, unemotional artificial intelligence. Personalization of offers in modern banking is not just a polite address by name in an email. These are complex algorithms that know more about your habits, fears, and weaknesses than you do yourself. Every time you tap your card or smartphone against a terminal, you feed this digital beast with data. The bank doesn't just see the amount debited, it sees patterns. Algorithms analyze the time of purchase, geolocation, store category, and even your decision-making speed. Do you often buy fast food late at night? The system flags you as an impulsive consumer. Do you regularly spend money at pharmacies? This means you are concerned about your health, and they can sell you insurance at an inflated price, playing on your anxiety. These systems work proactively. There are predictive models that forecast important life events before they officially occur.
For example, transaction analysis can detect pregnancy by changes in the grocery basket and purchases in specialized stores, even before you tell your friends about it. And at that moment, the bank will start bombarding you with offers for renovation loans or mortgages for expanding living space, knowing that your expenses will inevitably increase soon. But the most cynical use of this data is the exploitation of your financial vulnerability. Algorithms perfectly see when you are running out of money. They know that very day of the month when your balance approaches zero before payday. It is at this very moment, when you feel maximum insecurity and stress, that a saving push notification arrives with an offer for a credit card or a microloan until payday. This is not a coincidence or luck. This is a calculation. The bank catches you at a moment of weakness when your ability to critically assess loan terms is minimal and your need for money is maximal. Moreover, banks use real-time geo-targeting. If you enter an expensive shopping center or car dealership, the bank's app can track this via geolocation and instantly increase your credit limit or send a special installment offer. They literally push you toward a purchase you might not have planned to make, whispering into your ear through your smartphone screen, "Buy now, pay later." This is no longer just a service, it's managing your behavior through a dopamine loop. Banks create your digital twin, on which they test different strategies to understand which trigger you will react to fastest, to fear, to greed, or to the desire for instant gratification. Once a vulnerability is found, it is monetized. Your weakness turns into their profit, and you are left with the feeling that it was your own well-considered decision, although in reality, you simply followed a script written for you by a neural network. We move on to the 20th section, which conceals one of the most ingenious and simultaneously cynical schemes of modern banking. This is the subscription trap, or the economy of automatic debits. If banks previously profited from you spending money consciously, now they have learned to monetize your forgetfulness and inertia. Remember how you paid for services 10 years ago? Each time you had to take out your wallet, enter card details, or press a confirmation button. At that moment, a psychological mechanism kicked in, which neurobiologists call the pain of payment. Your brain registered the parting with money as a microscopic threat. This forced you to reassess each month whether you truly needed that service. Banks, in cooperation with technology companies, have eliminated this barrier. They implemented tokenization and recurring payments. Now you make the purchase decision only once, at the moment of card linking. All subsequent debits occur bypassing your consciousness. The bank deliberately makes the debit process as seamless and imperceptible as possible. A transaction notification, if it comes at all, appears after the fact, when the money is gone, and getting it back requires effort disproportionate to the amount lost. Here, the economy of microtransactions comes into play. A debit of 200 or 300 rubles seems insignificant, and the brain doesn't perceive it as a threat to the budget. However, banks perfectly see the bigger picture. The average user of an active banking app currently has 3 to 7 subscriptions. This creates the so-called zombie spending effect. You continue to pay for music, cinemas, or premium accounts that you haven't used for months, simply because the bank doesn't ask for your permission before each transfer. Moreover, banks themselves have started to play actively in this field. Look at the evolution of banking products. Now you are sold not just a card, but a subscription to a financial ecosystem. You pay monthly to receive increased cashback or free transfers.
This is a brilliant inversion. You pay the bank for the right to use your own money with slightly fewer restrictions. The bank habituates you to the idea that a regular payment for nothing is normal. The trap snaps shut thanks to a mechanism known as status quo bias. Psychologically, it is harder for a person to take active steps to cancel a subscription than to passively allow the debit to occur. Banks know this and often complicate the interfaces for managing auto payments. The card linking button is always huge and bright, while the menu for canceling recurring payments is hidden deep within settings, where you rarely look. But the deepest problem lies in free trial periods. When you enter your card details for a free month, the bank already authorizes future transactions. It knows that statistically, over 70% of users will forget to cancel their subscription before the first paid debit. This is not a system error, it is its foundation. Banking infrastructure is designed to turn your inattention into a stable cash flow for merchants, from each of whom the bank receives its acquiring fee. You think you manage your subscriptions, but in reality, algorithms rely on your fatigue and information overload, turning your account into a leaky bucket from which money flows out automatically. We are used to thinking of customer support as a place we go with problems, but for a bank, it's the front line of neuromarketing. This is where what the industry calls emotional banking happens. Have you ever noticed that after a conflict situation is resolved, when a bank, for example, cancels an erroneous fee, you feel even greater loyalty towards it than before the incident? This is not an accident, but a well-studied phenomenon known as the service recovery paradox. Banks know that a customer whose problem was heroically solved becomes emotionally more attached than one who had no problems at all. Therefore, sometimes it is profitable for systems to allow a little friction so that an operator can act as a savior. But let's dig deeper. Today, when you call a bank, your emotions are digitized even before you hear a human voice. Real-time voice analysis systems measure your stress level, timbre, and speech speed. Artificial intelligence prompts the operator not only what to say, but also how to say it. Prompts appear on the employee's screen instructing them to show empathy, slow down their speech, or use certain trigger words that, according to big data, reduce aggression. This is not just politeness, it's a cold calculation to manage your hormonal background. The operator's task is to transition you from a state of anxiety when you are focused on preserving resources to a state of relief. It is at the moment of this emotional exhale, when you hear the phrase, "I fixed everything, the money is back in the account," that your criticality drops almost to zero. At this second, the perfect sales window opens. It seems to you that the manager genuinely cares about you, offering card insurance or a credit limit just in case, but in reality they are simply executing a script that exploits your biochemical reaction of gratitude. This is manipulation at an instinctual level, where you feel indebted to someone who has just relieved you of pain. Thus, customer support transforms from a cost center into one of the most effective sales channels, where the currency is not interest, but your artificially modeled mood. We are approaching the climax of the story about banking control. If banks previously used psychology, app design, and credit scoring to gently push you towards desired decisions, the introduction of the digital ruble and other central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, changes the very physics of the process. Many mistakenly believe that the digital ruble is the same as the cashless money on your card that you use to pay in a store, but this is a fundamental misconception.
Money on a card is a commercial bank's obligation to you. The digital ruble is an obligation of the central bank. But its main difference lies not in its legal status, but in its technology. These are programmable money. Imagine a banknote on which you can write the conditions for its use. This is precisely what smart contracts embedded in digital currency allow. This opens the era of so-called colored money. What does this mean for your wallet? It means that the issuer of the money, in this case the state and controlling financial authorities, can set technical restrictions on how, where, and when you can spend a specific amount. Let me give an example. Imagine the state issues a social subsidy or benefit. In the world of cash or regular cashless payments, you could withdraw this money and spend it on anything, even if the purpose of the payment was different. With a programmable ruble, the system can technically block the purchase of alcohol, tobacco, or entertainment using these specific funds. The payment terminal will simply decline the transaction because the digital code of your ruble does not match the allowed product category. But control can go even deeper. The possibility of introducing money with an expiration date emerges. This is an economic stimulus tool that many financiers dream about. If the economy slows down and people start saving, stopping spending, the regulator can issue digital money that will expire if not used within a month. You will have to spend whether you want to or not, completely losing the ability to save. Your financial decision is made for you at the currency code level. Geographic linkage is also possible. Digital rubles earned or received in a certain region can be programmed to work only in that region to support local businesses. You won't be able to transfer them or spend them on vacation. Banking control here moves from the stage of influencing choice to the stage of choice architecture. This is no longer nudging, it's a rigid corridor of opportunities. Furthermore, this is absolute transparency. Every transaction, every transfer leaves an immutable digital footprint. The concept of bank secrecy in its classical sense disappears completely. The system sees not just the transfer amount, it sees the entire chain of movement of every penny from its creation to the final consumer. If banks previously analyzed your spending to offer a loan, now they receive a tool that allows them to permit or prohibit transactions in real time based on your social rating, carbon footprint, or any other parameters that might be embedded in the algorithm in the future. This is the transformation of money from a tool for exchange and accumulation into a tool of direct social control, where your financial freedom is determined by how exactly your wallet is programmed. We have come a long way, dissecting the vast machine of bank marketing, and now the moment of truth arrives. Knowledge is not just power, it is your shield. But for it to work, you need to apply the tactic of financial jujitsu, the essence of which is simple. Use the system's inertia to your advantage and avoid exposing yourself where you are expected. The first and most powerful defense technique is artificial deceleration. Banks spend billions to make the process of spending money instant and painless. Your response should be the opposite: create friction. Remove card details from browser autofill, disable one-click payments, and implement the 48-hour rule. If you want to buy something unplanned, give yourself 2 days. In 90% of cases, the emotional impulse that the bank so diligently ignited will fade, and you will save your money. The second method is translating from the language of marketing to the language of mathematics. Never evaluate an offer by the size of the monthly payment. This is a trap for the brain.
Always demand to see the full cost of the loan and recalculate any bonuses and cashbacks into real rubles. It often turns out that a card with expensive maintenance and high cashback is less profitable than a free card without bonuses. Use a calculator as a weapon. Cold calculation kills marketing magic. The third principle is digital hygiene. Disable push notifications from banking apps. Each such message is a micro-hook designed to regain your attention and provoke an action. Leave only SMS notifications about debits for security and remove advertising noise from your life. A bank should be a boring tool, like a hammer or a screwdriver, not an entertainment center in your pocket. And finally, the main change is a paradigm shift. Stop looking for the ideal bank that will take care of you. Such a thing does not exist. A bank is a commercial entity whose goal is to extract profit from your capital. Your task is to use their infrastructure for your own purposes, minimizing costs. Be a disloyal customer. Change banks if conditions worsen, close accounts if they become paid, and don't fall for the status of colorful pieces of plastic. Now you are armed. You see the strings they try to pull you by, and you know how to cut them. Your financial freedom begins not with $1 million in your account, but from the moment you stop performing actions imposed by algorithms. If this analysis has opened your eyes to what is happening behind the scenes of the financial industry, and if you want to continue receiving tools to protect your mind and wallet, do 3 simple things right now. Click the subscribe button so you don't miss the next investigations. Like this video so that algorithms show it to those who are still captive to banking illusions, and click the bell icon. Manage your money yourself, or it will be done for you. See you.